Hello everyone and welcome to Now You're Playing with Power, a Nintendo podcast, and this is episode 16. This is our deflation episode, one might say, the post E3 buzz.
The come down.
It is indeed. Sure, that could be a thing, and this is what we're going to do today. So we're going to have a shorter show for you, but before I talk about that, how about we say hi to Bally, who's already interrupted of his own accord.
I'm just fucking shit up all over the place. Hi Nbz. Yeah, great E3. Super hyped about everything that was announced on the Nintendo end of things. So
definitely,
overall, pretty happy.
Got a lot to look forward to, and you people listening at home have a lot to look forward to with the show. As I said, a little bit of a shorter one this week. We're going to just kick it off with the stuff we've been playing recently, and then we're just going to do a bit of an E3 roundup, catch a lot of stuff that we missed, because Nintendo did announce things after their digital event, unlike the other companies. They kind of just pushed E3 across the whole week, and we have some listener mail regarding E3 as well, so throw it into all one package, and that should be good to go. So first of all, we're going to jump into what we have been playing in the past couple of weeks, and I think that Bally and I have both been glued to our Wii U's because we received a free game as a result of the Mario Kart 8 promotion. Both of us decided to download the same one. Bally, do you want to let everyone know what that game is?
So we both went for Wind Waker HD. Now, I was actually quite convinced that you were going to perhaps try Pikmin 3, but when you said to me, you were like, Bally, no, I'm going to go for Wind Waker HD. I was so happy inside because, I mean, you've never played this game.
No, despite the fact that I have been around it and have... Yeah, that's a good word. I've endured Wind Waker for like going on 10 years at this point. We've talked about this before, and like the stories of how back in the day we used to sit around, print off guides from like FAQs on the internet, like when the internet was just text back in the day and there was no video or any of that nonsense. Podcasts didn't exist. You can tune into the Wind Waker podcast and get all the hot info. So we had to just go around and start finding stuff. So yeah, this was a fresh experience in many ways. I think mainly just the dungeons and kind of a bit of the world exploration, because I didn't know where all the islands were and how all that kind of stuff worked properly. So yeah, really kind of diving in here. Bally, how do you think it holds up in comparison to the original game?
I think there are very subtle changes that if even people who I think might have played the Wind Waker before might not even remember, and I'm sure there were lots of changes that I didn't notice, but the ones I noticed the most, there's obviously the Swift Sail,
yes,
which is an amazing item, and I think
it's a lifesaver.
For those who don't know, it doubles the pace at which you sail. So but the great thing is you don't get it straight away. They wait a while, so I think the first time you can get it is after the third dungeon. And I think the way that they paced the game so that you do have to do some sailing with the original sail, but then for the Triforce charts, for all the sailing around that you have to do later in the story that's compulsory, you can do it with the Swift Sail, and that's just like a really nice little addition to make the game a bit smoother and quicker paced later on in the game, because there is an awful lot of island hopping later on, as I'm sure those who have played the Wind Waker will know. The other little change I liked, and you were quite surprised when I told you about this one, Nbz, was that for the cannon, when you're out at sea, it now shows you a trajectory of the path that your bombs will go on. When you're shooting the cannon.
Yeah, so you're not kind of firing blind, right?
Yeah, so originally you were firing blind, and you just basically have to judge based on where your previous shot went, whether you need more height, more distance, more width, or whatever. So yeah, those are the two big changes I noticed. But overall, in terms of the visual style, I think the outside areas are far more impressive than the inside areas. Like obviously the inside areas are still HD, it's still looking a lot nicer, even with the cell shaded graphics. But outside, it feels like they've completely redone the sky, just completely. It and that's for like day at night, and dawn and sunrise, sunset. Like it's so vivid, like what they do with the color
All
palette.
the bloom, right?
Yeah, all the bloom exactly, and it looks incredible outside in HD.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to those changes, like of course, like I wouldn't know that the kind of canon stuff was edited. I thought like that's an obvious thing, right?
Mm.
Like that makes sense. Why wouldn't you have that in the original? But I guess they didn't, which is a little bit strange and kind of tells you that a little bit of antiquation going on with the first iteration of the game.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing I noticed was that the grappling hook when you're out at sea to grapple down for treasure, you used to have to be so precise with that item in the original, and it always felt like you were on top of it, and then you throw it down, and then it'd be like, oh no, there's nothing here, and you'd have to like use the motor in your boat just to like you're just constantly going around the same little area trying to find where they want you to put the grapple hook down. So I think that this game they were far more lenient. Like I think that
do you mean the hook shot?
the hook shot. What was I saying?
Yeah,
No,
the grappling
no,
hook.
not the hook shot. I mean the grappling
You mean
hook.
the grappling
Yeah,
hook?
for treasure when you're at sea.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. I thought you meant the actual
All
grappling
right,
hook. You mean the one that's on your ship that goes into the water.
the one that's on my ship. I did explain that badly.
Right.
So yeah, I think like I guess you could even call it a hitbox, couldn't you?
Yeah, it essentially is a hitbox.
That hitbox is far bigger in my opinion. Like I think,
Yeah.
and that really saves you a lot of time when you're getting all the treasure.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a second because we'll talk about the gamepad and its implementation here. But just going back to the Swift sale quickly, punny that I am being with that. I think it actually is an admirable choice to make you sail through the game not having it for the first half of the game, because when you do get it, it is just a noticeable increase. Like if you had it from the beginning, you never would have known. For example, if I just started and I'd had the Swift sale, I never would have known that there was a difference, and it wouldn't have had that impact. But what it does do is it kind of is like, wow, here this is a big upgrade, and this is a thing that's meaty and it matters and it changes things a lot. And the other thing, which I'm not sure if you brought up, but I can't remember, but when you are with the normal sail, you have to play the Wind's Requiem constantly to change the direction. However, with the Swift sail, you just point the direction you want to go
Yeah.
and the wind automatically goes with you, which is such a fantastic streamlining.
I actually think that's a bigger difference. That has a greater effect on the gameplay than the fact that it goes twice as fast for me personally.
Oh, definitely.
Because it's just so quick.
Because it cuts out so much time.
And it's that combined with you just look down on the gamepad and you can immediately see the entire map, which way
Right.
your boat is pointing, and you know exactly which islands you need to go to, and it's just so streamlined and smooth.
Yeah, so let's talk about the gamepad then and how they've implemented it here. So, a lot of people talk about how Nintendo aren't really using the gamepad in interesting ways, or they need to find something innovative to do with it and make it worthwhile. And what I've got to say is that the gamepad implementation in Zelda in Wind Waker HD is pretty fantastic, and it doesn't do anything radical, it doesn't do anything ridiculously crazy, but it just makes things so much more streamlined and easy to work with. And there are a few reasons for that. So primarily, as you were saying, the map, right? The entire sea chart is on the bottom screen. And what I did when I was trying to navigate somewhere was I would look at the bottom screen, turn my joystick and watch the little image of Link like spin around and get him to the place where he was pointed to where I wanted him to go, hit the A button, get the Swift sail up and just shoot off and not even look at the top screen. Just look at the bottom screen to, orient myself and then hit the A button and start going. And I just thought that's a really smooth way of doing things, because not only do you see where everything is at the bottom, it just makes the kickoff and the start the beginning of your sail a lot easier.
Yeah, like I think the gamepad implementation was done really well. Um, I actually thought that was one of the trickier bits of the original was there are certain areas where you have to shoot arrows at very precise points, and the gyro controls on items such as the bow and arrow, the hook shot, the grappling hook, the boomerang, the
Yeah,
telescope, maybe less so the telescope, but it all just feels so much easier to use. And it
yeah,
just gets you through
definitely.
dungeons quicker. It's more precise. Um, just tons of areas where you need that precision. Even in boss battles, where it just makes it all a bit
In
quicker.
boss battles, indeed.
Yeah.
Like you well know from having played the Tower of the Gods boss without using the lock-on and trying to use the first-person camera without gyro on the original GameCube. So it kind of cuts that stuff
To
out.
explain that in more detail, I basically didn't know about L targeting the first time I played through this game because I'd never played Zelda before. I didn't even know. Um, I mean, I think they mention it when you're learning how to use your sword, but I didn't realize you could do it, for example, for bow and arrow and other items. So when I got all the way to Godin in the third dungeon, and I fought him without lock on.
Which is insane.
Yes. So between that and defeating Ridley with 4 energy tanks, I don't know which is more impressive.
But oh God, Bally, it's like you deliberately place restrictions on
I
yourself
know,
to show people what a
but
badass you
both of
are.
them were accidental. That's the most hilarious bit. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree. I think the gyro is it's one of my favorite things they put into Ocarina of Time 3D. They added that to that game, and it is kind of jarring because it doesn't really fit with the fact that hey, this is a 3D screen, and you shouldn't really be moving things around while you have the 3D screen on. But obviously, if you turn the 3D off on that game and just play with gyro, it makes it much easier and just helps the precision and it gives you that level of nuance that I don't feel a second joystick does. Like you don't have the same level of control as you do with the gyro, and it kind of allows you to pinpoint areas. And especially, there's one of the Triforce pieces. I think it was a map in the original where there's an island with these birds. It's like five really
Oh
tall
yeah.
peaks,
Yep.
and there are five birds, and you have to basically take control of a seagull and hit all the switches.
Yep.
And the best way of going about that is to
Snipe
kill
them.
the
Yeah.
birds from afar with your arrows. And I was talking to Nagi about this, and he was telling me like on the GameCube version how fucking impossible
Yeah.
that is and how long it takes. But it didn't take me a huge amount of time. It was still tough to kind of do it, but with the gyro, that really helped a real good amount.
It's just so pinpoint. It's so pinpoint. It's so accurate. Um,
Yeah. It's almost like taking, in Twilight Princess, the pointer controls and refining them to an even greater level, which is really interesting that, this machine isn't focused on motion, but
exactly. It even feels better than the point controls in Twilight Princess. You're right.
yeah, yeah, certainly. So, that's a great use of the gamepad. Another thing, obviously, item switching, inventory management, much faster. You're just dragging and dropping and putting things where you want them, and it's all there right in front of you. And it's like, hey, got to switch to this item,
It's just
quickly
quicker.
do it.
I mean, speedrunners
Yeah.
love it. It's just so easy.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It means that you're not wasting time in menus and constantly flicking back and forth. Putting on the
I
item
mean, you can
boots
do
and
it
taking them
while
off.
you're sailing. While you're sailing, you can fiddle with all your charts. You can assign all your items. And
Yeah,
even with the Swift Sail, there's still breaks in gameplay while you're sailing in a straight line to somewhere. And it's just really nice. You can sort out everything before you even get there. Whereas before, you'd have to pause the game, sort it all out, and then unpause, and then you'd continue sailing where you're not really doing a whole lot in any case.
definitely. No, I think
But
that's.
I'm interested in like your general impressions of Wind Waker in general,
Mm,
not necessarily HD Wind Waker, but I mean you've never played this game all the way through, and
no,
just
until now.
until now, and like I'm just intrigued as to what you think because obviously this is my favorite game of all time, and I think now obviously the HD remake is better than the original, but I'm just
Yeah.
intrigued. Where does this rank?
Wow. I was really blown away by Wind Waker, honestly. I'm killing the puns today, aren't I? um, I got whisked up in the boat, and I didn't expect, to be honest, I didn't expect to finish this game so quickly. Like, I got it as the free game.
I didn't think you'd ever finish it.
No, well, I got it as the free game with Mario Kart, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's another console Zelda. Like, I'm still playing through Ocarina of Time on 3DS. That's a pretty long game. I'm like, it's another console Zelda. I'm probably, I'll start it, but I'm probably not going to get through it that much.
That's what I thought you would do.
Yeah, and I did. Like, I started it, played half an hour, and then kind of put it down again. I was still playing some Mario Kart, obviously. It was time of the hype of Mario Kart, but, I came back to it, and just basically one day, I started playing it, and I played for 4.5 hours straight. I did the first two dungeons and got all the way to the entrance to Tower of the Gods. I'm like, wow, I was able to get here that quickly. Like, I didn't realize that, because I knew that they cut out the third dungeon. That was one of the most famous things about Wind Waker is
Yeah.
they took out the traditional third dungeon from the game, and instead you basically go to the fish, and the fish is like, "Yo, bro, here's your pearl. You don't need to go fight a boss and beat a dungeon to get it."
Yeah.
So that really cuts things down. I think definitely, without a doubt, this is the shortest console Zelda. Like, out of all of them, this is the shortest one. And if you don't bother to go and do extra stuff and kind of fill out the map and see all the islands, like, easily 14, 15 hours.
Mm.
Like, a real streamlined, very quick paced, instant and satisfying game. And I was really shocked by the fact that it was so short. Because, like, looking outwards, like, it just feels so enormous. Just the expanse of having the Great Sea and the islands to visit and all these kind of little areas that you can go and finding treasure and all the treasure maps and everything. And
How much of the extra stuff did you do? And do you think if you haven't done a whole lot of it, do you think you're going to go back and do that at some point or play the second file?
so I'm not sure if I'd go and play the second file. I'm not too interested in going through and just doing it for much more. One of the things I really appreciated about Wind Waker was that it wasn't too difficult. Like, it's a pretty easy game, and so it never stops you, right? It never stands in your way and says, "Oh, this is really hard. You're gonna have to kind of think about whether you want to keep playing." Because I didn't die on any bosses, and I didn't have trouble with any dungeons. Maybe sometimes a puzzle stumped me a bit, but I was able to get through it. And it just rewards you for playing. Like, it gives you that feeling of just continuous, non-stop, go, 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 go. And, that's, how I played it. I played for 4 hours one day. The next day I played for fucking 7 hours. Like, it really got its hooks in me, and I did end up doing a decent amount of the side stuff. Not, like, everything, because there is a lot of it. Like, I ended up with maybe 11 hearts total, so I got like 8 heart pieces. Like, not a huge amount. There's still loads out there to do, and there's obviously treasure charts and all these.
Picto box.
Yeah, I didn't even dabble with the Picto box stuff.
To be honest, I think the Picto box just turns the game in terms of completion into a bottomless pit. I mean,
Yeah,
to
definitely.
collect every figurine in this game is so hard. I don't think there's anything built into another Zelda game that's more hardcore than the Picto box. I think it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's good fun and
Do you
like.
know how many figurines there are total?
Well, there's about 5 rooms worth,
Yeah,
and there are at least 12, 16 in each.
totally.
So
Yeah,
yeah, there's 60 to 100 figurines for you right there at least, and
that's a good amount.
yeah, and that's gonna take multiple run-throughs of the game just to get them. I mean, I did quite a lot previously on the GameCube. I might go back a bit on the Wii U, but yeah.
Yeah, well, in terms of going back and playing through and going back to that file, I'm definitely down to do that. And it's such a relaxing game, and it's
Absolutely.
one that you can easily have a podcast on in the background. I did do that for a lot of the time, because to be honest, I knew the story, like I knew all the beats of the story, and I knew what was going to happen, and I don't want to spoil it, but there are some twists that occurred, which I'd been aware of for many years, and so I wasn't like the dialogue's fine, but I wasn't super hooked into it because I knew how things were going to turn out in the end, regardless. And so it was fine for me to have something on in the background while I was just going on the ocean and
Yeah.
mapping everything out. And a real big thing in this game, I decided I was going to take on the task of mapping out every square. So what this entails essentially is basically every single square of Wind Waker. How many are there total? Do you know, Bally?
49.
Right. So it's like a 7 by 7 grid,
Yes.
and every single square has information about it, and the island on which that kind of piece of sea is, and you basically have to get a fish. In the water, you have to give this fish some bait, and then he'll come and give you information about the island and fill it in. So I went to Beetle's shop and was like, Beetle, pack me up, give me all the bait you got, and I bought all of it. And yeah, I just went around and just explored. I just had a look at every single square on the map, saw what the island was, got the information about it, picked up some tips along the way because he kind of gives you some tips, and it was really like a cathartic experience, just like just chilling, going through, unlocking stuff, and really enjoying it. So
So we all know that you're still playing through Ocarina,
right,
and I mean your Twilight Princess LP's been going on
don't even
for
talk about
for
it.
a little bit of time now. But
Yeah,
what about Wind Waker? Because I think other than Link Between, well, you completed this quicker than Link Between Worlds actually. Why? What made you
yeah,
complete this game so quickly? I know it's quite a short game and it's
yeah.
relatively easy, but there's still challenge and there is still a lot to do. So I'm just wondering why it just happened so quickly.
I honestly I don't know. It's just one of those things where before I knew it, I was at the final boss. Like I kind of blinked and I was there, and
What do you think of the final boss?
I think it's definitely one of the most challenging things in the game and really creative. But I didn't have huge trouble with it. I thought it was I thought it was
Do
very
you, do you
admirable. But
like one thing that annoys me is like the mini boss rush mode before the final boss.
yeah, that is a little bit. I think, to be honest, Wind Waker, as we've said, is a little bit light in terms of content, dungeon content anyway, and so it really does feel like padding. Like they didn't have time to create a.
I'd say in terms of number of dungeons, but I wouldn't say in terms of the dungeons themselves.
No, I think the quality's high across
Yeah.
the board in terms of the dungeon design, but I'm just saying that they didn't have time to create a third dungeon. So clearly they didn't have time to create a final dungeon. And so what they do instead is like we need to have something before you like if you just walked into the castle and you took on Ganon straight away, it would be a little bit of a pushover, or it wouldn't feel as grand and epic because usually in a Zelda game, the final castle actually is a dungeon in itself, right? You have the build up.
Yeah, and this one
Um,
should have been the same. It's effectively a mini dungeon.
Right, but what it feels like is just, padding. It feels like, hey, we couldn't get enough of this done.
I'd have to admit that that's what I feel is the only bit of padding in the game is that boss rush mode. In terms of the story, like that's just the.
Oh,
You think the Triforce charts?
well, okay. So I think the original Triforce
Oh
chart
yes,
chart
yes,
quest
yes.
is without a doubt the most superfluous like bullshit padding in any Zelda game. I think that is.
Takes 3 times as long.
It does. It is stupid. And yeah, what I do have to say for this version of the game is that's probably one of the best things they've done in the update is just refine that so much.
Because they're basically making you explore at sea as part of the story.
Sure, I
And
mean that's a cool thing,
yeah,
but
and I feel like this game was very good at making that aspect last just the right amount of time. And between having the swift sail and the ease at which you can access charts, I think it's now a lot cheaper to get them decoded. I can't remember the proper word. Um,
translated, I
translated
guess.
or whatever with Tingle. I think it's 398 rupees. I think before it
Yeah.
was sometimes 600, 900 or something crazy.
What? Oh my
Um,
god.
or certainly you at least had way more charts. So even if it was still 398, it racked up the money way quicker.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so yeah, I was really happy with how they streamlined that, and just really stupid little things, like for example the ghost ship chart. It now, without you having to look at the moon, you just have to look at the chart at nighttime, and the area of the chart telling you which island the ghost ship is at it glows.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of, oh, you have to work it out and blah blah blah. It just glows, and you just say, all right, okay, that one's glowing. I just go there, do the ghost ship, blah blah blah, and it's just really little things like make it a much better experience.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the fact that basically you don't have to go and get the charts, like three of them are charts
Yeah.
that you have to decode and find on the ocean. But the rest of them is just you find the piece, you find the Triforce piece, and there you go. And the thing I like also about the end game is that basically once you hit the midpoint, which is Tower of the Gods, after you're done with that, basically everything is open to you. I got two pieces of the Triforce before I set foot in the
Yeah.
Earth Temple. I was going out of my way to explore, and I got two of them just like that, which was really cool.
I tried to do the Earth Temple and all of the Triforce bits before the Wind Temple, and you can't because you need the hookshot for a couple. But
Yeah.
you would definitely be able to do it the other way around. So you basically would be able to save the Earth Temple for last if you wanted.
I actually don't think that's possible
How come?
because basically I don't think Makar activates until after the Earth Temple. You can't. Basically, the musical notes won't be coming out of the waterfall, and he won't be in there until you've done the Earth Temple. And that's
Are
what
you
I
sure?
basically looked. Yeah, and I looked it up, and I was like, can I do these in either order? And apparently he won't spawn until you've done that one first.
Hmm. Oh,
That's what the internet was saying anyway. I
okay.
didn't actually check it for myself, but
I mean, I've
that's what it
always
seemed.
done it in Earth and then Wind, so I guess maybe that's in the
Yeah,
original it might have been the same.
maybe. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do them in any order because they're kind of separate from one another.
Yeah.
But there you go. Another really neat thing when I was looking for the Triforce charts, not the chart, when I was using the charts to find the pieces in the sea,
Hmm.
what you can do is you can zoom in on the part of the map, like really close to the island, and basically just look at the gamepad and steer your boat right on top of the where it is marked, the X mark is,
Oh,
um, and then just deploy your kind of your
grapple hook.
hook down
Yeah.
below, as you called it. Uh, and it just makes it so much easier. It's like you don't have to fiddle around trying to find the bit of ocean. There's actually a large beam of light that kind of calls down to where it is. And yeah, on your map it will show you where the cross is if you have the treasure chart open, and you just basically sail right over it and it pops up. And yeah, a really good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice that, but certainly in the original it was a lot
A
tougher.
pain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oof,
definitely.
boy, yeah. God, it was difficult.
So I guess the real question is where does this rank among Zelda games for me?
I am
Um,
intrigued, and I want a
and
full justification here.
oh Jesus, you're just pushing me, aren't you? Um, so I loved Link Between Worlds. I really loved that game,
That is the main rival for me as well, to be honest.
and I'm kind of in contention with that and now Wind Waker for second place, I would say. My number one being Skyward Sword, which I adore that game. I think
Skyward
it's fantastic.
Sword.
I think Skyward Sword. Look, don't even. Skyward Sword's fantastic. So yeah, I would put it like second or third. I can't say right now. It's hard for me to. I have to go back to Link Between Worlds and kind of think it over. But wow, it's really pushed itself near the top. It's pushed itself above Twilight Princess for me, which is pretty staggering.
That is big. That is big.
I'm a huge Twilight Princess fan, and I think that the thing with Twilight Princess is it does have a few low points, like significant low points with the wolf. Like collecting the Tears of Light is bullshit. The intro's pretty long, and yeah, and I think Wind Waker just doesn't suffer from any of those problems by just the fact that it's much shorter and quicker to get to things, and yeah, and I'm really impressed with it, and I was blown away. Again,
Well,
the puns,
I'm
they keep coming.
pretty shocked, as you might have heard.
Yeah.
When you said like, there was one day I was with Ali T, He
Right.
was staying with me in London, and I think we went on the Wii U. We're about to play some Mario Kart. I said, "Oh, a friend's online." So I said, "Oh, Naman, oh, there he is." NBZ's playing um, Wind Waker HD. I was like, "Okay, cool." So we went away and we played tons of Mario Kart. Came back, you were still online. I checked your profile again. It's like, "Oh, NBZ's still playing Wind Waker." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." And then like hours later, I checked again, and you were still playing Wind Waker. And I was like, "Okay, you must be liking it quite a bit then."
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I'm just so surprised. Like, you first of all that you completed it, and secondly that you completed it quicker than any other Zelda. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, makes me really happy. It's good. It's good because I mean now
Yeah.
I've played Fusion, your favorite game of all
Right.
time. I
Yep.
enjoyed that, and now you've played Wind Waker, my favorite game of all time. So
It's a nice exchange.
it's a nice exchange, exactly.
It is indeed.
And
So there you go.
I mean, from my point of view, the remake is just not infinitely better, but they've done enough to the from the original that just makes it easily my favorite Zelda. Um,
Yeah. So if you've never played as Wind Waker before and you have a Wii U, just don't even think twice about it.
exactly.
It is a worthy purchase, and I would recommend it highly. So there you go. Maybe a few of you got it free because I know lots of people were buying Mario Kart 8 and lots of people have been playing it. So if you did buy Mario Kart 8 and get it as a free bonus game, then I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as Bally and I did. Um, but that's really what we've got time to talk about this week. We've just gone for a full-on segment of Wind Waker. I have been playing a bit more Mario Kart, but maybe we'll check back in with that as kind of a second look on the next show. But that is all our time for today. So we're going to take a quick break here, and we will return with an E3 roundup of stuff that we missed out and some of your listener mail. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we are back with the second segment of our show, and this week we are cutting it short. We're just going to be basically rounding up some E3 stuff that we missed off after the digital event happened, and we also have an email from Nagi who has some questions that kind of pertain to some of this stuff as well. So Bally has that. Why don't you go ahead and read it off?
So Nagi's got a few points. The first point he says is, looking at the teaser trailer for the newest iteration of Zelda for the Wii U, I've begun to realize something as to why, and to this day, they don't use the graphics of a tech demo. They want the element of surprise on a teaser trailer. What I mean is, if the new game literally had the tech demo engine, people would have just called it beautiful and solid and dark and just shrugged at it because they've already seen it 3 years ago and it's just something they've wanted and got from Nintendo. However, with the art style shown in the teaser and how different and glowing and colourful it is, extreme reactions come forth and create hype with how different it looks from what was expected. What I'd also like to say is that this game really seems like, just based off the teaser alone, the Zelda take on Shadow of the Colossus, with a giant seamless open world on your horse alone and fighting giant things and traversing anywhere you want, but it will obviously be a lot more than that.
So, what do you think, Bally? Do you think it was a deliberate choice to do the tech demo and then kind of pull a 180 like they did with Wind Waker?
I don't think either of them were on purpose, to be honest. I think that was just how both with the Space World one before Wind Waker and the one for 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I think both of them were just how they envisaged Link and Zelda at the time. I don't think they were overly fussed about either of those demos. It was just, let's just get this out there, create hype. We're not really showing anything of the game. I mean, I would say that they emphasized heavily on the most recent one that it was a tech demo, whereas I think Space World was more of an actual reveal.
Yeah,
I
because
might,
they did kind of say like Zelda GameCube game, right?
yeah, and so, and obviously the difference between Space World and Wind Waker was far greater, perhaps, than
Yeah, and especially
these
because
two.
this is kind of the second time they've pulled this. We know to expect that at this point, right? Like we've been trained that the Wind Waker thing happened, whereas at the time with that reveal, it was kind of like, wow, what the hell has happened? So it was a lot starker of a difference, I think.
I certainly
Um,
don't think it's as planned as Nagi is suggesting, to be honest. I mean,
no, no,
obviously it's created tons of hype, but I don't think it was on purpose.
definitely like I don't know. I do think that it is a beautiful art style. I think it's like a gorgeous thing. I think people are reacting really like well to it, but I don't think it's necessarily like their intention was to be like, hey, we're going to change it up so that people react. I think people are just reacting well to it because it's gorgeous and it's amazing and it looks really nice.
I mean,
So
and I
yeah.
mean, people are, like you said, far more positive than the Wind Waker reaction. When people saw Toon Link for the first time, it was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
What have
Yeah.
you done to this amazing franchise? And what's
Yeah,
going to come
definitely.
of it? And it was just all doom and gloom, and actually turned out to be a great game, as we've already mentioned today. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they do different things, and they create hype regardless.
Yeah, true. And his kind of feeling is that Zelda is kind of doing the Shadow of the Colossus Zelda game. A lot of people kind of thinking like Skyrim, very open world. Yeah, I guess like all of those games, it kind of represents, and it kind of is exciting because it's like, wow, for the first time we're going to have this huge kind of expansive place to take.
It's interesting because Nintendo hate being behind the horse and cart, as it were. They're normally the carrot, you know. They're normally the ones leading the way, saying this is the innovation, this is how you do it, and all these comparisons to Skyrim, Shadow of the Colossus, and things is really suggesting that Nintendo are kind of like playing catch up to some degree,
Yeah,
with
definitely.
Zelda. And I think that in reality, once we see more of this game, and what it has to offer, I think it's just going to be something completely different again. I think it's gonna. I don't think though the Skyrim link will necessarily last long.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to make it unique in its own way, but it's certainly exciting the kind of the things they're saying about how yeah you can literally go anywhere. So that's awesome. And I guess we can move on to his next point. Next, yeah,
Second point. So he says, I can understand that Splatoon is Nintendo's quirky and upside down take on the online multiplayer shooter, and I respect that, but I feel as if people need to be a little realistic on this one sole factor. Do you really feel as if the general and generic online shooter player that owns a Wii U who already enjoys the tried and true Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo, etc., will really be lured on to Splatoon to satisfy their shooter needs when the elements of it being an actual shooter are heavily downplayed? What I mean is, at face value, FPSs and TPS fans already get their fix and already heavily enjoy what they know and understand will be fun to them. And from first impressions, I've seen a lot of people say that they don't really need this game in their arsenal when they're already playing online shooters made before this.
it's an interesting point, definitely. Because this is kind of like out of left field. Splatoon is this weird thing that Nintendo are like, hey, we're gonna do a shooter and we're gonna do it our own way. Now, in terms of whether it offers anything to someone who is into Call of Duty and Battlefield and plays those games and loves those games, I would say it does because, well, here's the thing. I think that it's not going to draw them in and they're not going to play it like they do those kind of games. It's an alternative thing that Nintendo are offering. But what I think is more important, which Nagi doesn't really mention, is the fact that this opens up that genre to a whole new audience, to people who have never played third person or first person shooters before and who want to jump in and try them and see what they're like, but do it in a Nintendo environment and do it in a way that isn't very similar to what other companies do. And, for example, Bally right here is one of those cases, you know?
I mean, I
So
have played a tiny bit of Call of Duty and Halo, but obviously not on any of my consoles. It's been at other people's houses and things, and it's been very brief when I've been into it. And I would, I thought Splatoon was ticking all my boxes. I was ready to like give it a go. I would gladly play this online. And yeah, think that I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap with the sort of Call of Duty fan, and I think this is quite solely aimed potentially at just that Nintendo fan like me who hasn't experienced FPSs or third-person shooters much at all before.
definitely, it's a cool way to open it up, and to kind of capture a different audience. So I'm really excited about Splatoon. I think it's just an ingenious idea and so innovative and just completely Nintendo. So
I mean, if I was sitting here with like a PS3 or a 360 and I'm a massive Call of Duty Battlefield and Halo fan, I don't know what I would think of Splatoon, to be honest. I think
yeah,
I would say I owned a Wii U, then I'd be like, shit, I've not got a whole lot of games for my Wii U. Hey, I like Call of Duty and Battlefield.
sure.
This looks like a nice Nintendo twist on it. It's never going to replace, in my mind, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo, but I'm happy to give it a go. I mean, this is an out of
Yeah,
body
right,
Bally
right.
right now. This isn't me.
This is
But
parallel universe
this is
Bally.
parallel 360 PS3 Bally.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I would do in that position, but I didn't. Ultimately, they're not the number one target audience,
Definitely
I'm
not.
sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. They aren't the demographic for this. So there you go. We have one more thing that Nagi had to talk about.
One more point, yes. What are your guys' impressions on Codename S.T.E.A.M? I've seen the Treehouse and IGN live footage and it actually seems to look really fun based off the gameplay, with taking turn-based RTS elements, RPG statistics and third-person shooter gameplay allowing it to seem really fresh and exciting. I really like how you're in a physical 3D environment allowing you to move across a large map and see and plan everything in the third dimension, taking a huge contrast to games like Fire Emblem. I'm not really liking the art style though too much just because I'm not into American comics and stuff along those lines. But the way the game has this vibrant, convenient conveyance of steampunk adds to its charm.
So we haven't talked about this yet because it wasn't actually revealed in the Nintendo Direct, but this is a brand new IP from Intelligent Systems, the guys who brought you Fire Emblem Advance Wars, among many other games, called Codename S.T.E.A.M. And as Naki kind of describes, it's a strategy game that doesn't give you an overhead view. So you're basically behind the shoulder. You're in a third person kind of viewpoint, and you're using the environment and getting up on ledges to kind of see what people are doing. And it's basically you have a squad of 4 units against an alien invading army. And a lot of people comparing it to Valkyria Chronicles, which is a game that I don't have any familiarity with, so it doesn't really, it's kind of lost on me. And XCOM, which was a strategy game that came out recently. Um, Bali, what did you think about this? I know you haven't really had a chance to see much of it because it was revealed kind of late in the week and you were a bit busy, but from
Yeah,
kind of what people are describing it as, what are your impressions?
I mean, I saw tiny bits of footage here and there, and it looked horrible. um, but everything they were saying about it sounded great, and I mean, I'm not. I love great graphics here and there, but I mean, it's not what defines games necessarily for me. So that I'm sure that if this game came out and got great reviews, regardless of the graphics, I'd still be super keen. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, I love Advance Wars. I love intelligent systems, and it seems like it's a nice, unique take. I like the idea that there's no top-down view; that it's just behind the shoulder. That could work out quite nicely, to be honest.
It kind of replicates the feeling of being on the ground yourself, right? Because when you're in that
I
situation,
mean, I was thinking of Battalion Wars,
Right? Yeah.
I don't know who made that though.
I don't
Do you
think it
think
was Intelligent Systems. It was a different company. I can't quite
yeah,
remember now.
so or like 3D Worms.
Yeah, yeah,
If you ever played that, I've
sure.
done. I think someone played it when I was younger, but I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know enough
Yeah.
about it to be honest, but
So
looks
I
okay.
actually stayed up for the reveal of this, and people basically there was no live stream. It was journalists who were blogging about it, giving a live blog on it, and I went to Nintendo World Report because I know,
That's really weird. There wasn't a live stream.
yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. It seems a bit weird. I feel like it's one of those things where because they're doing this thing with the digital event and they're bringing all the content straight to the consumer at home, it kind of feels like them throwing a bone to the press, being like, hey, we're not live streaming this, so you guys can go and get a lot of traffic because you can write about it and talk about it because we're not actually showing stuff until tomorrow. So I guess it did feel like, hey, they're just giving the press a bit of a chance there to get some traffic to their sites. But basically, yeah, I was following along on a live blog, and all the stuff they were announcing was like, holy shit. Like this sounds like I was on NeoGAF at the time, and I was basically bouncing between reading the live blog and reading people post on GAF reactions, and just back and forth, and like the hype was just building to this ridiculous amount. Where it's like, oh my god, new intelligent systems game. Oh my god, it's gonna be this Abraham Lincoln fighting aliens. Oh my god, it's gonna be this steampunk aesthetic. Oh my god, the aliens are gonna look like things from H.P. Lovecraft. Oh my god, like all these the art style is based on Silver Age comics, and people are just like building and building, and this hype train is just ready to fucking explode. And then at the end, they reveal on Facebook some screenshots for the game, and I have never seen such a deflation of hype in my life because there's this kind of distinction between what the game was being described as and what it ended up looking like. Because if I'm going to be perfectly honest, visually, it looks like a DS game. And I even saw it in motion. I saw it like at the Treehouse. It's not a very visually impressive game. The art style isn't something, again, as you said and as Nagi said, isn't something that kind of clicks for me. I'm not into it at all. So
Isn't that weird though? Because Awakening looked so good.
right, and the art director on Awakening is the art director on this game as well.
Oh my god.
So, I don't know. I don't know what to really think about it.
Maybe he had to rush some stuff together for E3.
I don't know. I believe it's a woman actually who's the art director, but yeah, it's I'm really interested. It's so intriguing and it's really fascinating as a concept. And look, it's intelligent systems. They have done no wrong in my mind. They are like one of my favorite developers in the world. So, I'm pretty sure it's going to turn out like a solid game. I'm just a little wary again of the aesthetic and how that's going to, whether that's going to be a huge turnoff for me. But I'm going to give it a chance. And again, as you said, gameplay comes first. It's not all about visuals. So yeah, I'm kind of excited for it to some degree.
But there was obviously lots of other stuff that was announced. Or not announced necessarily, but stuff that happened after our previous podcast.
Indeed.
Perhaps most notably, one of the most hyped and coolest things Nintendo's ever done at E3, which was the Smash Brothers tournament,
Oh man, the Smash Brothers tournament.
which
Wow.
both stayed up and watched.
Yeah, it was up until like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Our time over here in the UK. So yeah, Nintendo put on the Smash Brothers Invitational, a tournament in which they invited 16 of the world's greatest Smash players to come and duke it out in a setting where they kind of define the rules for like the first few rounds, or basically every round leading up to the final, being a 4-on-4. Yeah, basically a four-player Smash
Four
game with
versus all.
items. Yeah, Smash with items turned on and all that good stuff, and using some of the new characters. We first got to see Greninja being played and Mega Man and all these new people, Little Max. So it was pretty exciting. It was awesome to see like those new characters being used and see how they played in the hands of pro Smashers. What did you think of it? Kind of the early stuff that they were showing, Bally.
It looked incredible. I mean, we were already hooked on the Smash drug a long time ago, and
Oh
this game is
yes,
just sort of ticking all the boxes so far. The announcement of the Me Trainer, Me
Fighter. Yeah.
I mean, they weren't in the tournament. There was only a select few characters in the tournament. But it was great to see, like you said, Greninja, Mega Man, these characters fighting for the first time, and seeing a few final smashes as well. As
Oh
well.
wow. One of the hypest moments of the entire tournament was when Mega Man
Yeah.
pulled off his final smash, and D1, who was one of the announcers, he was screaming down the mic. You could hear the crowd going ballistic, and it was a moment to behold. I think that video of the Mega Man final smash has almost 500,000 views on YouTube at this point.
Really?
Yeah, it's been making the rounds.
I mean, I think that was the best bit of the whole tournament, was that the crowd,
Oh, without a doubt.
and just the amount of camera time the crowd got, and just seeing thousands upon thousands of Smash fans going mental was just so refreshing to see. It was just like Nintendo showing off, like, yeah, look at our hardcore fans, check these guys out. And then you got the people going apeshit for Pokemon, the Link fans, Mario fans. There was so much like rivalry between Nintendo camps, and sort of, especially when they had to vote for certain characters to go through.
Definitely.
And yeah, it was just so hyped. It was just so loud. It was great. Yeah.
It was this atmosphere, and you really did feel like you were there because of just the crowd and their reactions and everything. It was.
I mean, that was a lot of the criticism of Nintendo doing this digital event in the same way as last year with their Direct, was you're not creating the atmosphere, you're not creating the actual hype at the event. It's just this online thing. And that while that's a fair criticism for that aspect of Nintendo E3, it feels like they just brought all the Tokyo Theater hype, not Tokyo, Nokia. Not Tokyo. Nokia Theater.
They brought Tokyo to Nokia.
They brought the Tokyo hype to LA. So yeah, the Nokia Theater was just on fire once again, and it was just great to see.
I mean, the moments when, like, Sakurai walked on stage. This is the one moment in his life when he is going to feel like...
He looked so scared. It was so funny, yeah.
Yeah, like, when do you get a game developer walking out to, like, uproarious applause and screaming and shouting? He was a true rock star on stage, like a god, and... Wow, I was so like hyped about it.
And Reggie came out at the end, and he was initially quite standoffish about everything, but then the guy who came runner up challenged him to a fight, and he rejected him at that time, but then his conversation came around and he started promoting the 3DS version.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh yeah, I'm going to play that one lots, and then when I get good at that, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to kick your ass.
And then everyone went nuts!
And it was just like, wow, that was so unscripted. Where did that come from, Reggie? And it was just like...
I mean, Nintendo is this company, right? And it's supposed to be a business, it's supposed to be corporate, it's supposed to be suits. Yes. But their executives, their business people are cartoon characters. I mean, for fuck's sake, in the Nintendo Direct you have the Japanese and American presidents, the CEOs of these companies, fighting in like a ridiculous, stupid Smash Brothers style. It's amazing. I love it. I think it's just one of those things that makes them feel far less of a corporation and much more of like, you know, something that the fans can embrace. So
and at the start of the tournament, Sakurai basically said to the crowd, he's like, I really hope you understand sort of if there's any bugs or if the tournament doesn't really go as planned. I mean, this is all live. They had very little control over what was happening. There were like fan votes and things, but that was it. So he was really kind of, you could tell he was quite concerned, like, I really hope this all goes well. And in all honesty, I think it went incredibly well, especially the final, which was no items. It was... Who were the two? I can't... Hugs.
Yeah, no. It was Hungry Box.
Hungry Box versus the guy from Chile.
The scarf, man with the scarf.
Man with the scarf, who eventually won.
With Zero Suit Samus versus Kirby.
And they just had an epic battle. I mean, it was a shame it went down to sudden death, because sudden death is just one hit and you're out. But yeah, no, it was really impressive.
Yeah, I thought that was the best game of the tournament. Like that was just, and I kind of it's weird because we're people who traditionally play Smash with items and just have fun that way. But I think when you're watching competitive Smash, it is definitely far more interesting to see without items
Yeah.
because you just get that raw skill. It's that
hmm
raw Twitch control.
And I mean, I think I'm going to be playing a lot more with you and others without items, just because it's another form of playing.
It's just it changes the game. Yeah, it's a different. It's almost an entirely different game.
I mean, how often are we playing with Ali T, and I'll win or you'll win, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, you only won because you got that item," and we'll
Yeah,
be like, "Well, true,
yes.
but I still won." And he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, well, I don't think you deserved that win." It's like, no, well, no items. You deserve the win 100% if you get the
yeah,
win and no items. It's just,
definitely.
it's far more, it's far cleaner.
Yeah, it really is, and
No Johns.
no chance.
Which they even referenced at the start.
Yeah,
The commentators.
they did indeed, and I don't know. I think it was great that they got the commentators on as well. You were expressing a bit of worry beforehand that Jeff Keighley was hosting, but I
Yeah,
reassured you. I said Keighley is not going to be commentating these matches. He's merely the host.
yeah.
So he,
And he did well. He was good. It was fun.
yeah, yeah. So wow, I really hope Nintendo do something like that again. I think they're kind of bound to at this point. Like they're like the reaction that they got not only from the crowd in LA, but from everyone online was pretty extreme. So
Yeah.
so they're pretty tied into this now.
And I mean, they'll learn from the elements that didn't work, and I'm sure
Yeah,
they'll try again. I mean, what if they just next time did two tournaments
yeah.
where one was with
One for
items,
glory and
one
one's
exactly for glory versus for fun. Well,
sure.
I'm sure the guys in for fun would be pretty competitive as well, but
Yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know. There's things they can do with it for sure.
And as you said, yeah, it ran really smoothly. I have to say that there was definitely a chance of it crashing because what happened, segue, is part of the Treehouse Live event. One of the segments they had on there was they brought back some of the top Smash players to do some more games on the Wii U version. And during the Treehouse Live event, the game actually crashed at one point. So there was a very distinct possibility that at the live event, the Invitational, that the game could have crashed. Like if it had crashed during that 8-minute final, oh man, that would have sucked.
I know. Oh my
That would have been
god.
terrible. But thankfully it didn't.
During sudden death.
Yeah, thankfully it didn't. But anyway, let's move on because I kind of segued into it. Is the Treehouse Live event? Now, Bally, you didn't really get to see too much of this, did you?
No, I was quite busy with final project stuff,
Yeah.
of course, but yeah.
Um, I was pretty much glued to my computer for this Treehouse stuff, and I have to say I was wrong. Like I expressed sentiment before E3 that hey, this is gonna be dumb. This is gonna be PR bullshit and Treehouse, whatever. I don't care about it, but they did a fantastic job, and obviously the beginning of it was terrible because it's those goofs from Nintendo Minute on the YouTube channel.
Kit and
I don't know her name.
girl.
Girl,
Yeah.
kid and girl.
Oh
Yeah, they were
god.
they were terrible. But man, the rest of that stream was so great, and it really was a better way of experiencing E3 than I feel like. I mean, obviously being at the show is great because you get to actually play the games, but in this controlled environment where they brought on developers, they had people to translate for them, they had these people from the Treehouse who are all really nice people and super personable and just explaining all the games and giving like a solid amount of time to each of these segments. Like they played for 40 minutes of Xenoblade, the new Xenoblade game. They played 40 solid minutes, which is awesome. That's what I want to see. I want to see extended chunks of gameplay of what's going on. And I really thought it was fantastic, and I really hope that they take this approach again next year because, as many people were skeptical and thought, Nintendo, what are you doing? Why are you bowing out and doing no press conference? I think this is their future at E3. I think that their hilarious Nintendo digital event, their Treehouse live stream, the Smash, I think it is one of the best performances from them at E3 in a huge long time, and wow, I was really stunned. I was blown away. And, for people who missed it, obviously, Bally, you didn't get to see a lot of the Treehouse stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to go back and watch games like Kirby. forgotten the name.
Rainbow Curse.
Rainbow Curse. Kirby, Captain Toad's Amazing Adventure.
Treasure Tracker.
Treasure Tracker, and
Yoshi's.
Splatoon, a bit of Yoshi Woolen World.
Yeah. Dude, Splatoon, they were showing some high-level play going on there. So
really?
if people like Nagi are worried about depth or anything, just watch some of those guys from Treehouse and some of the developers playing. You'll be extremely impressed with that.
Like that team of Splatoon, you were saying they're very young, and like we saw them in the aquarium during the digital event. I thought they just looked like they knew their shit. Like they just look like, we're fucking trendy developers. And we're the trendy Japanese guys in town. We're gonna blow all of you away. And it was quite impressive.
I definitely think so, and I'm really happy to see Nintendo kind of promote more of their younger talent because as great as Miyamoto, as great as Aonuma are, they're not going to be around forever. Nintendo's going to have to go on, after they have, passed away or left or whatever they end up doing. So we got to have new blood, and this is promising, very promising. So I'm glad they did that.
And then there was one more Smash Brothers announcement.
Right, the Smash Brothers Roundtable again. Throwing a bone to the press, Nintendo did, as they kind of did their Q&A and event and kind of showing stuff off. Pac-Man was revealed as a character in Smash Brothers. So, Bally, what do you think about Pac-Man coming into the fray?
It's cool, and it's more cool just in terms of what he represents and the way they introduced him. I thought his little reel was quite funny, and then at the end it's Pac-Man next to Mr. Game & Watch saying 1980, and then it's just Mario and Donkey Kong looking at them saying 1981, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, shit's on you, son, because we're earlier than you, kind of thing. It was like, take that, and it was just kind of a nice little nod there to how old Game & Watch and Pac-Man were. I mean, that might be a suggestion that maybe Game & Watch is back. Which,
I mean, totally. They didn't actually officially say that he was.
They didn't know, so we'll see. But I like what Pac-Man represents as well in terms of he's Namco. He's the main Namco mascot, and the idea of having the main Capcom, Sega, Nintendo, and Namco mascots, all four of them in one game, it's just really cool, and I'm just dying for that event match, which I was mentioning earlier, and you came up with a great name for it. What was your name? Or
did I?
Or was it me? I said like Console War.
Yeah, Console Wars.
Or like, I don't know, but it'd be cool to have an event match like that. Or we'll see.
Yeah, no, Sakurai posted a picture on the Miiverse of like, these are like four of the most iconic characters in gaming, and they're all in my game. And
we were thinking like, who could they get that would even be more iconic? Who's like a mascot? We couldn't even think of anyone.
No, they'd have to be like from the 8-bit, 16-bit days, and those are the big four, I think, really. So there you go. Wow. So that was basically all we had to say, I think, from all the extra bonus stuff that came out after E3. If you haven't done so yet, I recommend checking out the Treehouse live stuff. It's all archived on their Twitch channel. I think they're kind of slowly uploading chunks to their YouTube account as well, the Nintendo YouTube account, so you can go check that out. There's some great footage of the games that were shown. A lot of people were waiting and thinking that maybe they'd show some Zelda Wii U, and I was like, you are high if you think they're showing Zelda Wii U at Treehouse Live. No way they're doing that. So they also showed off like Miyamoto's new project, Project Guard and Project Giant Robots. So if you want any kind of knowledge on what those are all about, you should probably go and take a look and see what's happening. So that's going to be it for our show this week. A little bit of a shorter one as always, not as always, but this time because obviously E3.
You need that time to just soak in all that E3 goodness.
Got to have a rest, got to have a break. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with a full-length show, so don't worry about that. But until then, you can check out what we're doing on a daily basis and by following us on Twitter. So you can follow me at Lordnbz on the Twitter, and I'm Lordnbz on Miiverse. What about you, Bally?
I'm Ballyman91 on the Twitter, BALLYMAN91, and that's also the same on the Miiverse.
Indeed. And as always, we need some more questions, listener mail. We want to be doing a good segment on that next time. So let us know what what you thought and what stuff you're looking forward to as well from the E3 announcements, and get those emails in, and we'll be sure to cover them. I'm sure the E3 kind of waves.
How happy were you guys with E3?
Yeah,
Because we're pretty happy. Are we
pretty
wrong
stoked.
to be this optimistic?
I hope not. I hope not. But you guys can come tell us. So the email address, as always, is Bally.
NYPPQuestions@gmail.com.
And with that, I think we're going to close things out. So thank you very much for listening. We will be back in a couple of weeks with a regular show. Until then, goodbye.
Bye. So as I'm sure many of you know, this is Wind
Wait, start
Waker.
again. That was that's an awkward transition. All right.
What tone do I need? What do you mean?
All right. Let me just. I'll just say my my line. This is a fucking like play. Like, Bally, don't forget your lines. You realise that we script this whole fucking show.
I know, it's just like can't remember our first line.
So bad. All right. So, and that game, I'll do it. That game is the Wind Waker.
Just, that doesn't sound scripted at all. So it's like,
Look,
and
look.
that game is the Wind Waker.
All right. So yeah, we've been playing this free promotion for Mario Kart 8, and that game is the Wind Waker HD.
Which is, of course, is definitely my favourite game.
Mayday! Mayday!
I don't know how to. I like. Right. What shall we find?
Should we just start the fucking show again? We've done got 8 minutes and we haven't even started fucking talking.
I don't know, but you said some.
Alright.
Just go from what we've been playing, because you did a nice roundup of E3.
Yeah, alright. Okay.